Hello and welcome to this Scriptcase video. My name is Jamie and I am your host. I do apologize for the delay in this video, and you can guess the title. It is the creation of a Kanban within Scriptcase. Okay, so we are in the project from the previous week, and in this video we want to dive into our Scriptcase environment. And then once we are logged into our Scriptcase environment, we can go ahead and, of course, check out how to create a Kanban application. Now, it is a bit of a misdirection maybe, because there is already a Kanban application available within Scriptcase. In fact, Scriptcase includes many examples where you are able to dissect applications, import them into your own project, and even learn from, or just copy the code, copy the application, whatever it is you need to do. Now here we have all of the system templates that are available within the Scriptcase environment, and many of these show you the awesome features and functionalities available within Scriptcase. Now, if you generate each one of these, in each one you will find something different, something new, something that you can learn from, and something that you will for sure want to implement. Now we have here the CRM project, and if I click on the CRM button, it will present me with the project details. And if I go ahead and go next, what I can do is I can use the default SQLite connection, and I can generate the source code. And then with the source code generated, or being generated, should I say, we can already have all of our applications available. Now, we may not want to use any of these, we may want to import them, whatever it is. Now, at this point, we can go ahead and just close that application, and then we'll see here we have many applications available to us. We have contacts, deals. For instance, within this deals folder, we have the blank pipeline. And if I click on that, we'll see that here we have a deals pipeline available, which is essentially a Kanban list. So if I go ahead and run this project, I will be presented with the CRM login page. And here I can log in as admin and admin. And those login details are typically presented here on the login page. Now here I can log in into this environment, and I can then check out what is available. And straight away with this one, we have here a Kanban list. Now, if we want to check out how to access this, where it comes from, and so on, we know that we log in and that we are accessing then the menu application. We have the app menu here. So if I go ahead and open that up, I have here the pipeline, and that is then here the blank pipeline, which is then the application we were just viewing and had also already opened. Now within this, we have a load of code that allows us then to adjust as well as, well, manage the pipeline application. So let's have another look at that. So here within the pipeline application, we have here stars displayed, a value displayed, a title, as well as a color, and then we are able to drag and drop these from position to position as we manage our deals, as we manage our projects, as we manage our processes, and so forth. And then that will then also be updated within your database. We can also add new deals here at the bottom, and then that will go ahead and add new deals here for us. And if we want to adjust it, we can go ahead and adjust the title, for instance, and update that. Now there is also a form available for this so that we can actually adjust these, and by clicking that we can then view also the form that is associated to this application. And then that then allow us to maybe adjust anything else that we need. And we can implement this within our own Scriptcase project. Now that we have generated this project, we can actually take it apart and import it, or even just copy this code, because in this case we are looking at a blank application. So here we have the onExecute code, and we can click here the programming and expand the PHP methods, just making sure that we have no PHP methods available here without having to go through the code. If we did have PHP methods, then we would also want to replicate those into our other project. Now we see here we are using the scGetLanguage function, and that is something we then need to check. And now we can check up here in our tools section. We have here internal libraries and external libraries, and the internal libraries we can also check those here within the application itself. So there, if I scroll down, we'll see that we have no internal libraries or user libraries or public libraries or script case libraries attached to this application. Again, if we had any of these checked, we would also want to go ahead and replicate or include those functions, libraries within our new application. Okay, so now that we see that we have literally here just an on execute, and sc is a script case function, so sc_getLanguage. And of course, as I said, we have here also the internal libraries. We can check here within the internal libraries what is attached to this project. Okay, so there are no libraries attached to this, and we have then also the external libraries, and if there were any external libraries attached to this, we would then also want to include those. In this case, we have here the function, some connections to the database, we build our nodes here, and then we display some content. And here we include the jQuery and jQuery Figbox and jKanban libraries. So we are in fact using an external library. Now, these files would then be included via script case. So these libraries are in fact script case libraries. Okay, so they are not included within the external libraries. So with these scInclude libraries, these are included within the project as external libraries. And we can check that then also, as I mentioned a few moments ago, here within the external libraries. Now here we have the external libraries that are applied and not applied. If use library is displayed, then it has not been applied. So I can scroll down, and here we have the project libraries, and here we have the CRM library, a jKanban library, as well as a radio buttons library. So these are free libraries that we may want to include within our new project. Okay, so we can go ahead and edit these libraries here, and we can then also download the individual files, or we can access then the URL to download the jKanban libraries separately. Now the original Kanban library files you will find here, and you will find also more information regarding the use of the script. So do be sure to check that out. So here you have again a full example of that, and you can of course then go ahead, access then from here the GitHub page, which is then github.com/ricktar/jkanban. Now at this page you can then also download the entire library and include those within an external library yourself within the Scriptcase project. So let's go ahead and then download this library via zip file, and they will then be downloaded, and we can then include those within a new project. So other than the jKanban library, let's have a look. We have then also here the CRM library. So if I edit that one, we can see what is available here. And here we have some badges or flags, I would imagine, an error.js, as well as an index file and some styling. So I don't think any of those are actually required for this. We have then also here the radio buttons library, and there we have some JavaScript files and a CSS style sheet. So those we also do not need. So I believe for this project and for this application, we only need here the jKanban script, which is included. And we will then add that. The jQuery and jQuery Figbox, well, that is then included within Scriptcase. And that is why we also require no path here. So we can leave those as they are and also include them within our new project. Now it is important that we make adjustments to the selects. So if I scroll in some more here and reduce here the help, we can maybe check out here our code a little more. So we have here, first of all, our scget language. We have then here our deal steps, and here we have our select. And that selects then deal steps ID, deal steps description, deal steps lang, deal steps order from table deal steps, where deal steps language equals my language, because this function is grabbing then the language of the end user. How awesome is that? So straight away we have a Kanban list which is, well, it's languified, as I like to say. It has languages built in and will display the language of the user, which is really cool. Okay, so that is then started. We grab that and then we start that off here, and then we load up an array. Now here we have a for each, so we're looping over our array here, and we are grabbing then the ID, which is then essentially the step, the title, applying a class and item. Now we could make adjustments to this, which was then essentially the view that would be displayed. Now within that we have then here our deals. So again, we are selecting from our database table, so we may need to make adjustments to this for a new alternative application, because of course we could take this script and apply it to any database table. It does not have to use the original script or original tables. Here we have then again a for each, and we are looping through the dates or the data here as well. We're selecting all of the activities via an ID and those that are not done. Now notice we have here also the SQL protect function here, and we are then protecting the date from SQL injection. We are applying, well, if a color, otherwise we then set another select here. And here we are then selecting the activities from activities where the deal ID is set. We then have here another if statement and complete our select, of course. And then with the following if statement, we are checking then the color 1, 2, or 3. And then we check then the days or adjust the days. Now, of course, with this code, we can adjust it how we want and change these nodes or the view of our drag and drop elements. Okay, so there we build then our nodes, and we then basically, well, remove the last comma from the deals as well as the steps and complete our arrays. Our arrays are then basically spat out here to our JavaScript code, which then allows or sets up our containers. We have then here also our form. So that is then for our button, providing our click function here. How awesome is that? We have our drag boards. Notice again, we have functionalities here from the original JKanban, so do check the documentation for indications or further functionalities for this script. We have here also then the button content, where we then essentially add a new deal, and we are here also using a language variable. We have the add item button set to true, so if we set that to false, there'll be no add button available there. We can also stop the drag of boards if we like, which is really nice. So there is a lot of functionality already in this. We have some edit functionality here for the titles, as well as then the title button. We insert, we save, and we add new nodes to our Kanban, because that is essentially what happens. And within each of these steps, well, we need to assign our new applications, which then manage these steps, because we had a functionality there where we can click on a button and that would then open the relevant application. And we have the insert node here, so we have the save, which is then an Ajax save that posts here using here the blank pipeline Ajax. So that is another application we want to look at here. So if we come back here to our home window, and then here on home, we can then open up here the deals folder, and then access here again the blank pipeline underscore Ajax code, and there we then have the code for the Ajax insert and update of our drag and drop nodes. Okay, so now that we have these, we can basically copy this code I can then take myself a text editor and I can paste that in there. So that is then here for the blank pipeline Ajax. And then we also want here the blank pipeline, and there again, we just copy that code into a text editor. We have our JKanban library, so we can go ahead already, create ourselves a whole new project, and maybe assign these to completely new tables, the same tables, however we please, and then implement that within a new project. So, of course, you want to do that. So, keep watching, because that is our next step. Now, it is important, before I kind of continue on and add these in the possibly most difficult way, because we've just copied the code and pasted that into a text editor, and we're just going to rebuild those Kanban applications within a new project. Well, the alternative to that is quite simple, because Scriptcase again provides us the functionality of features to replicate and copy our applications from one project to another. So if I already have a project that I am using, I can from here check these two applications, come down here to the copy button, and then choose the project to which I want to then replicate this project or these applications to. So here I would then, for instance, choose a sample project that I have here, samples, and then I could go copy that, and then I will receive another window. Do you really want to copy the selected applications? Yes, I do. So I will click OK, and that will then replicate these two applications over to my samples project. And then in that case, all I need to do is replicate those tables into my other database, as well as, of course, replicate the libraries which we had downloaded. The JKanban library, you remember that? Okay, so with that, we can then go ahead and already start to create our project. So let's go ahead then and close this project up. We can then access any of our other projects, but first of all, let's access the samples project, to which I just copied the blank pipeline and the blank pipeline Ajax to. And notice how Scriptcase actually opens up that folder. It has also created the deals folder for me and placed these two applications. Now I could, from my samples folder, now also replicate the database tables, which of course we didn't copy. So that's very important to do. Now if I go ahead and close this project again, I can access here the CRM project once more. And within the CRM project, I can come up here to database, and I can come here to database builder. And then once we are viewing the database builder, we can access the associated database by simply clicking or selecting it. And then from here, we can choose to export the database tables. When we open this straight away, we have then the option to export all tables. If we are viewing an individual table, it will only have that table selected, and you may then want to choose more of them. Now, in this case, it is entirely up to you. You could export all of the tables from this project and reuse these tables, integrating them into your own project, or of course editing them. So let's just take a quick look at that. Let's export that first of all, and then if I open up our text file that we had here, and then in here I can then paste all of the database. Now I could then go ahead and edit this according to my new needs by deleting all of these tables that are no longer needed. For instance, all of these security tables, all of those would more than likely already be existing within my application. So I can get rid of those. In other cases, I will not want to use the information that's here. For instance, we have here insert into SQLite sequence. We do not have an SQLite sequence, so those would have to be removed. And we would have to adjust this according to our MySQL needs or our SQL needs or whatever those may be. Now, for the purpose of this training, I have gone ahead and split up the database tables because the original tables, they are dependent on the activities that we see here, or maybe even the products, participants, sellers. These all have relationships. So when using these original tables, you may find that you will need to make adjustments. So these are the two tables that we actually require for this project, and that is then the deal steps as well as then the table deals. We have some dummy data here which we can then implement into our own project. Okay, so you may notice there is a slight difference here to the table. So I have added a drop statement here and made adjustments because we are in fact using an SQLite database and not MySQL. So the alternative is perfect for a MySQL table, and this is then for an SQLite table, which is what we are also using within my samples projects there. Okay, so if I go ahead and close then this Scriptcase project and access here my samples project, and then in here we have the blank pipeline and blank pipeline Ajax. Now the first thing we want to do is add our new tables, so we can access here database builder and SQL command, and let's copy then our table creation and insert script, execute that, and everything will be executed. And we are pretty much good to start. So just like that, we have our table. So let's just check that down here. We have now here the table deals and select data, and we can see that we have some data here. So we have something to work with already, and just like that, we can actually replicate these two applications, or these two Kanban applications from the original CRM project. Okay, so now that we have our blank applications here, we will also want to generate then the forms so that we can manage then the the data points, right? So let's come up here to application and go batch applications, and then we can generate the two applications or the two forms straight away. And if you want a grid, we can have a grid there as well for these. Well, why not? It's always good to have a grid for those. So let's go ahead and generate those and then finish. And that will then generate a form as well as a grid associated to each other for each of those tables. And you see that here we now have the deal steps as a grid, as a list, as well as the form deal steps. So with those, we can already manage our applications. So here within our blank pipeline, let's go ahead and open that up. And then here we can make sure that the paths here are correct for our applications. So here scrolling down, we have here first of all the form TB deals. And that is what we also have now here, because we've used the same database tables and generated them the same way. Everything should pretty much match, which is quite nice already. So let's scroll down here also and make sure we have here the blank pipeline Ajax, which we have. And then also with the pipeline Ajax, we want to make sure that there is nothing in here that we need to adjust, and that should then also be good to go. So using the original code or even the original applications, however you like to do it, whether you want to copy and paste or copy the applications or import, export, those are all the choices, and you can apply any of those. Now, if I go ahead and run now this blank pipeline, we have no information. Okay, so within our application, we were seeing nothing, and that is, well, it's not displaying an error message, was it? So it seems like everything here is working, but there is a very important addition that we are missing. So let's have a look. So we have our applications here now. We have created our form deals, the steps, as well as some grids so that we can view those. Now, with our main applications already created, and of course using those default values that we have during those generation steps, we can go ahead and adjust those at any time we want to, and even include any of those additions. As you are seeing within our table here, and our table deals, we have here the contact ID in here. We have the owner seller still, so you can still add these and other fields if you really need. So you can make your own adjustments, not only to the database tables, but then also to the applications. So something that we are missing is the external library. And that is a very important point when we come here to this external, or this blank application that uses external resources or scripts. Okay, so here within the blank can application, we are also loading at the bottom here scIncludeLib, the jQuery and jKanban applications or JavaScripts. So we want to make sure that these are actually active and available within the project, and if not, then we need to add them. So if I come here to the external libraries now and scroll all the way down, we have here the Kanban already, and if I go ahead and edit that, we have in here the jKanban master, which we had added. And if we didn't, then it's already here because I had it ready for the project. And here we can then apply that. Now, you may remember that the layout of this was slightly different. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to delete this library. I'm going to go back to my zip file and open it. And then the zip file here, I'm going to extract the JavaScript files and the CSS files that we actually need. So we don't need all of this GitHub information. We have the example here. If that's something you want to check out, that also includes here the drag auto scroll JS and the index here. So you can see how that works. That's definitely worth checking out, because then you'll see how the Kanban functions via the original source code. And that is then quite easy to apply to your Scriptcase application once you know how. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another folder somewhere. And then I'm going to grab the jKanban, the jKanban CSS, and I'm going to grab all of the other JavaScript files anyway, and the license file, the README. I will include those as well as the example so that it's there, and the other JavaScript file is there. They may be helpful, and I'm just going to drag and drop those into my new folder. And then once those files have extracted, we can then go ahead, close that zip, and then we have them here now separated. And I can actually just select these files again, right click on them, and I can compress these to a zip file again. Choose more options if you need to. And then from here, we can send to and a compressed zip folder. And then once that zip file has been created, we can go ahead and drag and drop that here within the upload window. So there, I'll just drag and drop that into that window. Click OK, it will extract the files, and there we then have the jKanban files that are required for this project. Now if I come back to my pipeline, I could go ahead and run it again, but I want to make sure first of all that the external library is actually being used. And there we see it is not highlighted in green, and we need to check here the use library so that the remove library is indicated, and then also again click the Save Project Libraries, adding those new libraries into our project. So now if I come back to the blank pipeline, and now if I go run, and just like that, we have our Kanban application working within our new project. Now you see we now have the selects fully functioning, and we can also drag and drop this just like we did before, which is very nice. We can click on here and we will open the new form that we had generated, and everything is automatically functioning just like it was within the original project. Now, you may notice from the output here that there is a slight difference from the database insert that we had added. And that was also why it was not displaying nothing, because here we had EN just for English, and the language variables are EN_US as an example. So in this case, we need to make sure always that our data is reflecting when we update our tables, for instance, or create new tables. And then we want to make sure that we have the same relationships and the same data applied as we had here. So when I come here to the database, you'll see we had here just English as well as for the steps. And that was then not outputting any data, any Kanban boards, because here we are searching where the var lang, so where the language is of the user, and that way we have also the language applied to this Kanban board. And just like that, we have applied now a Kanban board. Let me now remove the debug, and just by unchecking these boxes here, or these options, script error, SQL error, debug mode, I switch off the debug mode, and that is how you would want it then when you deploy your project. During development, you can come in here, check those, and run the application, and it will then output the database output and any errors that you may have within your code. So you can see whether it's something to do with the select, or maybe that no data is found, which was our case. So now we have here our Kanban board ready. We can add new entries in here, and we can also adjust content around. Now we will more than likely still have to make here an adjustment for the addition. So let's go ahead and refresh this application, and there's no change there. So we need to change here the add. So let's come back here to our blank pipeline application, and then let's check then where we have the add functionality and make sure that we are using the correct applications or functionality here. In fact, here we should be using the pipeline Ajax and applying that accordingly. So we have here our pipeline code, and we have here first of all our update node, as well as then here our insert node and our delete mode. Okay, so for the update mode, well, that was working. We actually did update something there. So for our insert mode, this was not working, and we need to check that. So you have an idea of what's actually going on here. So the update node, what's actually happening here? So, well, first of all, it constructs an SQL update, or a statement that we have here where we are saying update TBs set. So this we are setting under a variable and creating already our select at the bottom here. So here we see another variable here, var SQL update, where deals equals. So if post item mode update text, then we apply deal titles equals post value. Otherwise, it is deal steps ID equals item value. So in short, really, if the item mode is update text, it updates the deals title of a specific deal identified by the deals ID using the item value. And that then dynamically constructs here our SQL select. And that is then a pretty nice piece of code that we have there. Okay, so here in the insert, well, it's the insert into the table, and it performs the same thing again. So here we are constructing again our insert statement. So here we're saying, first of all, today we have here our insert into deals, and that is then the deals title, steps, ID, deal start, date expected, close, deal value, deal lang, deal one, and there we post the string title, the step, date, and today's date. Okay, so that actually seems to be okay. We do have an extra option here to open this up and see whether we get some output here. So this is going to select the deals ID from TB deals, order by ID, and well, it's going to echo that out for us. So if I go ahead and save this and generate this application, it will generate that one for us. And then I can just go ahead and run here the pipeline and click that, and oh, look at that. It's actually now inserting beautifully. So it's probably just a bug while I was there dragging, dropping, or making other changes. So that actually works beautifully without having to really make any changes at all. And somebody did ask during the live session about changing here the colors. So the colors are actually changed within the external libraries. Here you have the pipeline.css, and here we have the color 0, color 1, 2, and 3. And here we can then change the colors of these deals that are added into this pipeline, and the colors are also controlled within our code here. So if we would want to make any adjustments to that, maybe add additional colors, we could essentially do so. So let me just find it. Here we have the color, and there the color is applied, and here we then also have an if statement. So depending on our select here our select activities date from activities, where deals ID and activities date equals, here we have then the color specified. So by simply adjusting those, or maybe the select, you would be able to change the color of these items that have been added within this Kanban board. Okay, so that is a pretty awesome little project already, and you can add this into any Scriptcase project just by simply importing it, or even copy and pasting the code, which is sometimes maybe even the better way to go, because then you can customize the script according to your own needs. And that is pretty straightforward to do because most of it is ready. You would maybe change here the deals, adjust the tables that you are going to use. The layout would pretty much be the same. Maybe change here the forms that you would include, and you have already a fully functional Kanban list. Now, I hope this video helps you, and of course if you want to learn more about Scriptcase, then there is always more being added here into the Scriptcase channel, as well as over at the Scriptcase by Jamie channel. So thank you very much for watching, and until the next video.